Should you pull for Fusoya's BT and Ciaran's FR? Hopefully it'll be easier to edit. We're gonna start with Fusoya's first. His attack, Spirit Blast skill 1, does 5 split HP attacks, granting the buff Bless for 6 turns. Hold, his skill 2, deals 6 HP attacks with 2 50% splash, inflicting group speed down by 20% for 6 turns, and group paralyze for 1 turn. Twin Meteor, his EX, deals 9 split HP attacks, granting the buff Give Your Power to Meteor for 6 turns. Lunar Quake, his LD, deals 7 AoE HP attacks, giving 1 free ability use, extending Fusoya's inflicted debuffs by 2 turns, and granting the buff Watcher of the Slumbering for 12 turns. That's kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. Omni Blast, his FR, inflicts group paralyze for 2 turns, and while it is active, it will give a party HP cap up at 50%, and whenever the party attacks, they will always recover HP by 10% of the HP damage dealt, up to 30% of their max HP. Black Magic to Eradicate Evil, his BT, lasts for 6 turns, giving the party an HP cap up of 30%, and HP cap up for himself by 50%. Another effect gives Fusoya's inflicted buffs 1 more turn duration. And lastly, after acting, Fusoya's EX gauge will always fill to max. Let's go to his buffs and debuffs. Bless will give a lot of support, surprisingly. Party Brave regen by 80% of the initial Brave. Party HP regen by 20% of the max HP. Party initial Brave up by 60%. And Party max Brave up by 20%. Watcher of the Slumbering, that I still can't get over that name. I don't care how cool Fusoya is, I don't want him watching me while I'm slumbering, that's creepy. Besides that, the buff will make it so Fusoya's debuffs become silver framed, and has a fun party effect where after every HP attack, they will increase their Brave by 200% of their initial Brave. Yes, after every single HP attack. Let's go to Fusoya's force conditions. You get a 30% whenever anyone receives Brave regen before their turn, and a 45% whenever anyone attacks a debuffed enemy. Is Fusoya's BT necessary? If you want damage, yes. It will greatly boost Fusoya's power, as well as making his strongest attack, his EX, spammable. But outside of DPS, his most valued supports come from his buffs and FR effect, so if you're fine with dealing less damage and you're more concerned with his supports and paralysis, you can skip the green. Now let's go to Ciaran. Starting with his attacks. Bash, his skill 1, deals 5 HP attacks, granting 2 levels of Drop of Myrrh, also granting the buff Crystal Caravan for 6 turns. Holy Strike, his skill 2, deals 2 HP attacks with all 50% splash. However, it will upgrade to Holy Rush Strike when Drop of Myrrh is at level 5. That instead will deal 7 HP attacks with all 100% splash, and will grant the party Brave by 200% of Ciaran's attack. Caravan Memories, his EX, will deal 7 AoE HP attacks, granting 3 levels of Drop of Myrrh. Shadow Blade, his LD, will deal 8 split HP attacks, granting the party Brave by 300% of Ciaran's own attack, giving 1 free ability use, granting 5 levels of Drop of Myrrh, extending any active Crystal Caravan by 2 turns, and granting the buff World's Memories for 9 turns. White Whirl Strike, his FR, will extend all of his active buffs by 2 turns, and while it is active, Ciaran will always have free ability uses, and while his Drop of Myrrh is at level 5, everyone's gonna get a party HP cap up at 50%. Power of Memories, his BT, pretty straightforward. It lasts for 8 turns, and will give the party a bunch of auras, including a party HP cap up of 25%. Ciaran's buffs and debuffs. Crystal Caravan will give him a max Brave up by 40%, and his LD buff, World's Memories, will make it so Drop of Myrrh will never decrease levels. It will always stay at the max 5, and it will give the party initial Brave up by 40%, and a Brave regen by 80% of initial Brave. Ciaran's force conditions. There are 2 of them. You get a 40% whenever anyone has a buff or an overhead at least level 0, and another 40% when anyone receives Brave regen before their turn. Is Ciaran's BT necessary? Yes, very much so. Ciaran's strongest assets are in his Brave support. Without his burst, you're missing out on significant auras it gives, and you hurt one of the few things he does best in. If you don't have his BT, he's not good enough to be in your main party, in my opinion. Unless you're trying to do a bronze carry Theologica style, there's no other reason why you shouldn't green him. Now that we've got both bios out of the way, let's get to the should you pulls. We're gonna start with Fusoya. Should you pull for Fusoya's BT? Well, let's look at the positives first. He is the absolute best of the best when it comes to paralyzing the enemy. That's his main goal for the most part to make sure the enemy cannot act at all even if their turn comes up. With enemies who turn warp, for example, and take multiple turns at a time, Fusoya is a good counter for them. His paralysis is very consistent too, so you don't have to worry that much about them ever running out. What I like about Fusoya also is that paralysis isn't all that he's good at. He's very helpful in many other roles as well. With damage, Fusoya's BT gives him very high HP cap ups as well as a spammable 9 AoE HP attack EX. For utility, his buff will give the party both Brave and HP regen, a great support effect in his LD, increasing your Brave every time you deal an HP attack, and also with his FR active, every single HP attack your party deals will self-heal. Every single one, including off-turn damage, trap damage, on-turn damage, everything heals. His healing is particularly great in my opinion because you don't have to waste turns or calls healing your party. You can just keep attacking and Fusoya's FR will heal for you. By the way, because of him giving party Brave regen, his FR conditions are a piece of cake to satisfy. Extremely easy. He practically takes care of them all by himself, so it's great to use as a main FR as well. On the other hand, Fusoya does struggle with a couple of things in my opinion. He's fairly slow. None of his attacks have instant or fast turn range, so if you don't have outside help to give him more turns or to push enemies back a little bit, you might find it difficult to stack up his paralysis debuffs, and they might keep wearing off. Secondly, his BT effect is not strong enough on its own to warrant a 6 turn length. Most of his utility doesn't even come from it, and even though you significantly increase his damage, it's still not touching other DPS units like Astos, Strago, Aranea, etc., and even following with his damage. His strongest move, the EX, while it does become spammable, doesn't actually paralyze by itself, so whenever Fusoya moves, you're always sacrificing either the chance to inflict or stack debuffs or to deal his highest amount of damage. I wish his EX was more of a one-in-all package, allowing you to deal huge power, but also paralyze at the same time. All in all, after further looking into what he can do, I'm pretty impressed with Fusoya's current kit. Apart from paralyzing, he's a jack-of-all-trades character with good qualities in many roles. In that regard, I think he's a very good third-party unit. Let's move on to Ciaran. Should you pull for him in his newest FR rework? Anything pertaining to Brave, Ciaran is your guy. If you want auras, Brave regen, Brave damage up, Brave gains up, very few people do it as good as he does. Your party will be dealing high HP damage 9.9 times out of 10 when he is in the field. More specifically, I want to talk about his Brave regen. It's a lot. Your party will be recovering so much Brave before attacking, you would think William Wallace just gave them a pre-battle pep talk. Next, his HP cap ups are very high. If you add up his BT effect and active FR, you should be getting around 75% for your entire party. Pretty freaking decent. Not only will he be supporting your damage, but he will also allow you to deal much more on top of that. Lastly, his FR conditions are super easy. The second condition is taken care of by him already, so the hardest condition would be his first one, in having a leveled buff or overhead. Not hard to do at all. A lot of units nowadays have one of the two, and even if they don't have either of them, if you have Rydia LD call, you can just use that for the entire party and you're completely set. Okay, Aloe, we get it. He's a great Brave support. What else does he do? Not much else, to be honest. Ciaran is an aura bot, but outside of that, he doesn't offer much. He has no defense, no force charging, no healing, no cleansing, no dispelling. In this case, to me, he isn't that unique of a unit. Plenty of support units out right now have great Brave auras as well, and while a lot of them don't do it as well as Ciaran does, most of the time they're still good enough. And even then, okay, he might have some of the best Brave supports in the game. There are other units existing already who guarantee max HP damage completely, with Kina and Setzer. It doesn't help much too with his DPS capabilities. It doesn't stack up to other characters, even units outside of attackers. It's not horrible by any stretch of the imagination. 7 to 8 AoE every turn isn't bad, but with someone like Ciaran, who besides Brave doesn't give much else, it's kind of disappointing to see that he's mediocre on the DPS aspect as well. All in all, I think Ciaran is great for newer players. He can help out in your party for a good long while until you're able to pull and build other supports, but if you're a middle of the line player or a veteran player, unless he's a favorite for you, I don't see too much value in the guy, unfortunately. My personal take, what do y'all think about Fusoya and Ciaran? Thank you guys so much for watching with me. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!